Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new to this channel, please don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like, to comment, and to share. And if you're an old subscriber, welcome back and thank you for stopping by. So in this channel, or rather on this channel, I talk about crimes that have happened in Zimbabwe, in Africa, in the world, anywhere and everywhere where Africans are thriving. That is what I talk about mostly in this channel. And just as a disclaimer, everything that I talk about on this channel is already in the public domain. I like telling stories, but I do not make them up. I find what is already online, what is already in the public domain, stories that have happened years back, and I just bring them back to you guys, because most of you probably don't even know that such crimes happened before. So yeah, that's what I do. And again, I'll say this, I do not make up these stories. These stories are already in the public domain. So in today's episode, I want to talk about murders rather, that have happened in Zimbabwe. And these murders have some things that are very familiar or very common to them all. All right, the first common thing is that these murders were committed by people that were drunk, under the influence of alcohol or whatever other substances that I don't know about. But what I know is definitely these people were under the influence of alcohol. And the second these murders have in common is that they all happened in a fit of rage. And the third thing that these murders have in common is that they were over very, what we could say, minor misunderstandings, minor issues that actually ended up costing other people their lives. So that's what I want to talk about today. At the end of this video, I would like to pose some questions to us as Zimbabweans, as Africans, as people the world over about these crimes. So I will pose those questions. I want you guys to respond. I want you guys to talk about it. I want you guys to comment. No, I don't want, but I would really appreciate it if you guys could comment, if you guys could talk about it, if you guys could keep the conversation going. Just say what you think. Yeah, comment. Let's talk about the crimes and, let's talk about it. Let's keep the conversation going. Let's discuss. All right. So let's dive right in to our first crime of the day. So in the year 2012, in October, this happened in Mizo, Kwekwe. So there was a bar, I don't know if it's still there. So there was a bar that was called Cold Spring Bar. And then on this particular day in October of 2012, people were actually drinking as usual. And then there was a man called Admira Cadamoyo. So he accidentally spilled beer on a man only identified as Smart. Okay, so after he accidentally spilled beer on Smart, I'm not sure if he started the aggression or if he apologized. But either way, what we are certain about is that Smart was so offended that he actually went outside to his car and he pulled out a machete. And then he brought the machete back into the bar and he started attacking Admira Cadamoyo. He attacked him so badly that when he realized that this man was badly injured, he chose to get back into his car and escape. Yeah, he vanished. Both men were actually drunk. He vanished from there, and only later on did a good Samaritan decide that they were going to take Admira to the hospital. So they drove Admira in their private car to Kwekwe General Hospital. And upon admission to Kwekwe General Hospital, they realized that his injuries were really bad and they had to transfer him to Panganai Hospital in Harare, which is like a huge hospital that probably had more facilities than what they had in Kwekwe General Hospital. However, when they were getting ready to transfer him to Panganai Hospital, Admira passed on. So yeah, Admira died from the injuries that were sustained during the attack that was the injuries that were inflicted on him by a man only identified as Smart. What was his offense? He accidentally spilled beer on Smart. Now, you might actually know that Kwekwe is a city of gold. And because this is a city of gold, we have a lot of gold panels there. And you might remember that sometime in 2021 or 2020, or is it 2019? I'm not sure. There was an outcry from the residents of Kwekwe and surrounding areas, because there were some people that were moving around with these machetes and attacking people, killing people randomly. So I guess this machete thing has been going on forever, you know. And the next case I want to talk about happened in Mashingo in the year 2007. So in 2007, Mashingo, this is in a village setup in the village of Marufu village in the Mazungunye area. There were 3 men that went drinking beer, you know, the local brew. Yeah, so they went to somebody's homestead to drink beer. These 3 men did not go together. They went separately, but coming back, 2 men came back together. That is Mr. Panganai and Mr. Makombe. They were friends. They came back together. While they were walking, they were chatting, you know, just in the evening about 7 p.m. They were chatting, and then they decided to go their separate ways. And as they went their separate ways, Panganai had other plans. He was meeting with his girlfriend, and his girlfriend happened to be a married woman. Okay, so he met with his girlfriend in a gum tree plantation after parting ways with Makombe. And then, while they were having their moment in the gum tree plantation, Mahosi, that is the girlfriend's husband, actually happened to be passing by in the same plantation, and he heard the lovebirds whispering and talking to each other and doing their thing. I mean, like doing their thing. So when he heard those two, it is said he recognized his wife's voice. He recognized his wife's voice, and then he got closer, and then he listened, and then he saw what he saw, and he realized that the two were actually being intimate, pants down, literally. And when the wife saw that, oh no, they've been caught, she fled and she left the scene. The husband did not chase after her, because I'm sure he was like, oh, I'll deal with you later. For now, I need to deal with this one. Let's deal with Panganai first. So he took out a knife and he stabbed Panganai several times. And then Panganai died some moments later. Now, in 2012, the case was brought before the courts. And Mahos was actually charged with murder. But it was then reduced to manslaughter after, was it manslaughter or culpable homicide? After the judges also saw that there were extenuating circumstances. For starters, Mahos argued that he had been aggravated by what he saw, his wife and this man in the act. That pushed him to do what he did. And also he was a first-time offender, and also he was under the influence of alcohol. So the judge spared him the news and also reduced his sentence from murder to manslaughter or homicide. I'm not sure which is which. But anyway, so his sentence was actually 6 years in prison. He was given 6 years in prison for killing his wife's boyfriend. 6 years. He was again under the influence of alcohol. The boyfriend was under the influence of alcohol, and I'm not sure about his wife. She was also under the influence of alcohol, but what I'm certain about is Mahos and Panganai were both under the influence of alcohol, and one man lost his life. This I'm going to talk about is from Bachelor Bridge. So in October of 2011, men and some men were having drinks in Helena nightclub in Bachelor Bridge. In the same nightclub, there was a witness, Milambo, who was 24 years of age, and Munyaradzi Chamusingarevi. So they were drinking, and then it just happened that again Munyaradzi spilled beer on witness Milambo by mistake. Okay, he spilled beer on witness Milambo by mistake. And then there was an altercation that occurred, and people, obviously the other patrons, they stepped in and they broke off the fight, and Munyaradzi decided that he was going to walk out of the club just to clear his head and probably to go home and stop the fight totally. He wasn't interested in fighting. So when he was going out, he started walking with a fellow villager going home, but witness would not have it. Witness felt offended, or he felt disrespected, I'm not sure, but he followed Munyaradzi. When he followed Munyaradzi, he asked him, like, why did you spill beer on me? And Munyaradzi again apologized, but a fist fight started. And it is said that Milambo hit Munyaradzi several times with clenched fists, with boots, and eventually he was unconscious. So Munyaradzi's brother carried him to Bachelor Bridge Hospital. Okay, I don't know if it's Bachelor Bridge Hospital or if it's just Bachelor Hospital. So he took him to the hospital. Upon admission, they realized that his condition was really bad, and they needed to take him to Mutare General Hospital, which is a bigger hospital in Manicaland, right? So before they could get him to Mutare Provincial Hospital, he died on the way, and the postmortem showed that he died from the injuries that were sustained from these beatings that had happened. And in 2012, November of 2012, witness Milambo was sentenced to, he actually pleaded guilty to culpable homicide, and he was given 5 years in prison, of which 3 were suspended for 5. So he had to serve a full 2 years for culpable homicide. Now, guys, I really need to understand this culpable homicide thing. This culpable homicide thing is always so confusing for me. Like, at which point does it become culpable homicide? At which point does it become involuntary manslaughter? Or is it just, are those interchangeable terms? At which point does it become murder? Yeah, at which point, how do we separate these 3? Are they 2 things, or is it 1 thing, or are they 3 different things? I do not know, guys. But anyway, Milambo was sentenced to 5 years for culpable homicide for killing Munyaradzi for spilling beer on him. Again, both men were under the influence of alcohol. Drink coffee, works better. My next case that I'm going to talk about actually happened in Gokwe. Yes, the famous Gokwe. So there were 3 brothers, and I'll just name these guys the Mugora brothers. They were 3, they were aged 34, 28, and 20. These guys were charged with public violence and murder. How did this happen? So it happened that one night they were having, it turns out that there's a woman called Rhoda Takayendesa in their homestead, or in their, not in their homestead, but in their village, who was actually running a shabin. Okay, so people would get together in the evenings and have a drink or 2 and chat the night away. So one night, the 3 brothers were also drinking in the same place. And then one of Rhoda's daughters, by the name Tariro, accused one of the brothers of fondling her mother's breast. So she said, you touched my mother's breast, you shouldn't do that. So the mom was the Shabin queen here, and her daughter came to her defense saying that you touched my mom's breast, why did you do that? And, you know, like a fight started. But the other people that were drinking in the tavern or in the shabin stopped the fight, and everybody thought the situation had been put under control and everybody went back home. However, after the brothers got home, they armed themselves with axes, iron bars, whatever they could, metal things that they could get their hands on, and they came back to Rhoda Takayandesa's home. When they got to Rhoda Takayandesa's home, she was already in bed. So they actually tried to force the door open to go inside and maybe deal with her or deal with Tariro. I'm not sure who they wanted to deal with at this point. But anyway, Rhoda and her kids managed to escape through the window. These guys smashed other windows, they smashed the door, but they couldn't find the family. The family had escaped through another window. Fine. When they realized that they were not going to get Rhoda or Tariro, they went to somebody else's house. And this person was called Tobias Mugora. Why Tobias' house? Tobias was one of the people that actually stopped the fight between Tokmo, that is one of the Mugora brothers, and Tariro. So they actually like held something against him, like, why did you stop the fight? You should have let me beat up that girl. You know, she cannot talk to me like that. You should have allowed me to just deal with her. So we are going to deal with you because you didn't allow us to deal with the girl. So they went to his house. When they got to his house, he was staying with his mom. So this was nighttime. He was sleeping in his room and the mom was sleeping in her own room. And these are little huts in the homestead. So they went to his hut and they broke down the door. They pulled him out. They started beating him up. And his mom heard him screaming and calling out for help. She stepped out. She begged these men to stop. They did not stop. They threatened her with death if she ever came nearby. So when they realized that, oh, this man looks really bad, the brothers left. He crawled into a nearby bush just to hide or, you know, stay safe because probably he thought they would come back. But they didn't come back anyway because they realized that they had really done a lot of damage to him. So anyway, the following day he was taken to hospital, but he died. Okay, again, the brothers were under the influence of alcohol. Mugora was also under the influence of alcohol, though his crime was to stop a fight. That was his crime. So yeah, he was killed by the Mugora brothers, and the three brothers were charged with murder and public violence. So in Chipinge, Christmas time, that is my next story that I'm going to talk about. This happened in Chipinge and it was Christmas time 2012. So a 24-year-old Colin Simango was drinking with his friend George Mutisi. So while they were drinking, they had a fight. They had a misunderstanding over an empty bottle. Okay, I don't even know what kind of a misunderstanding would happen over an empty bottle in a club, you know. So they were drinking in the Daisy Hill shopping center. While they were drinking, they had a misunderstanding over an empty bottle, and then a fight started, an altercation started. So you know how it's like when people see people fighting, they always try to break off their fight. So another man stepped in, and this guy was called Hard Life Mazibiye. He was 24 years old. So he stepped in to stop the fight. And then, like, people were now getting angry because this was Christmas time. You're killing the Christmas spirit. Why are you fighting? Why are you making noise? Stop. You know, we want to enjoy our Christmas in peace. So he stepped in to stop the fight. So when he stepped in to stop the fight, the two started fighting, like Hard Life and Colin Simango. They started fighting, and suddenly Hard Life took a bottle, smashed it, and he cut Colin's neck. Colin bled profusely, and he died a few moments later. Colin was under the influence of alcohol. Hard Life was under the influence of alcohol. and a small misunderstanding degenerated into a fight that actually took Colin's life. To start with, the misunderstanding was not even between Colin and Hardlife. The misunderstanding was between Colin and George, his drinking partner, his friend. Hardlife only stepped in to stop the fight, but he ended up being the killer. Probably while he was stopping the fight, he also some punches landed on him, and I don't know why he chose to break a bottle and slash Colin's neck, but yeah, he was slashed. So it was a deep cut. It was so deep that he bled profusely, and he died moments later in Chipinge, 2012. So the next case I want to talk about is again from Gweru, the Midlands province. Why am I saying again? Did I talk about Gweru before? I'm not sure. Okay, I spoke about Kwekwe, that is Midlands province. Now let's go back to Midlands province, and this time let's go to the provincial capital. Let's go to Gweru. So in Gweru in 2011, there were two men that were drinking together, and these men were Jacob Tom, and he was only 23, and his friend Innocent Shelimu, and he was only 32. So they were drinking together, and these guys were actually from Silobela. Sure, they were working in Gweru there. They were drinking together one night, and while they were drinking, Innocent Shelimu went to buy beer. He was given $20 by his friend Tom. Go and buy, another round. So he went to buy the beer, and he came back with the change that he brought back was $2 short. Okay, he brought $15 change instead of $17. Now, Tom knew, Jacob Tom knew exactly how much he was supposed to get. So Jacob said to Innocent, yo, this change is short, $2 short. And Innocent said, yeah, sure, I know. Actually, the bartender said to me that they don't have $2, so we can collect it later. And Jacob did not believe him. He thought his friend was trying to swindle him of $2. So Innocent said to him, okay, fine. If you don't believe me, let's just go to the bartender and ask him if I'm not telling you the truth. Like on their way, at first they were almost like fighting, and then Innocent decided, okay, fine, let's go to the bartender and talk to him, and you ask him if I did not leave $2 here. So when they were going there, these are both drunk people. Okay, these are people that are under the influence of alcohol. Jacob was just losing it, and he started fighting his friend. He started fighting him and saying that why didn't you bring all the money? Why did you have to leave the money with him? Why? And from nowhere, he pulled out a knife and stabbed Innocent several times. Yeah, he stabbed Innocent several times, and then Innocent bled to death. Just like that. So, yeah, the altercation started over $2. Now, you can never put price to life. You can never put a price tag on life. But yeah, it was over $2, and Innocent was killed by his friend Jacob. Jacob was only 23 years old when he killed Innocent, who was 32 years old. This happened in Gweru, provincial capital of the Midlands province. So my next case is again back in Kwekwe. Let's go back to Kwekwe, and this time we are going to Mbizo 4. And so it just happened that on this particular day in March, and the year is actually 2011 or 2012, there were some guys that were drinking beer at a bar, and then along came some 5 guys. These guys were actually called the Masendaka brothers. Okay, so the Masendaka brothers were drinking, and then they were playing pool, and then they would bet. So it is said that they betted $10 for a game of pool, and they lost the game, and somebody else won the game. After somebody else won the game, they gave the person the money, but they looked for the weakest link amongst them, and they saw a guy called Malvin Gore, and he's said to be somebody who doesn't like fighting. So they just demanded that he gives them the $10 that they had lost to somebody else. And this guy was trying to say, no, I'm not going to give you money because I'm not the one who betted, and I've got nothing to do with this. But yeah, it is said that Edson Masendaka took out an okap knife, and then he stabbed Gore on his arm, but not very deep. So Gore realized that his life was under threat, and then he decided he was going to give Edson $20. He gave Edson $20 just to make, to get him off his back, to shake him off his tail. But Edson continued fighting and demanding more money. In the meantime, his other brothers started fighting Edson's friend, who was called Umpof. So they started beating up Umpof with sticks, with fists, with, again, machetes. Okay. And they beat him so badly that he became unconscious, and then they ran away. When they were trying to run away, actually the public managed to apprehend them, but Edson escaped. Edson went to his hideout in Cadamoyo, and he stayed there for some time until somebody saw him and tipped off the police. So Edson was also arrested, and they found the machete under his bed in his apartment, or in his house, or in his room, I don't know, in Cadamoyo. So the 5 Masendaka brothers were brought before Kwekwe Magistrate Court, and they were charged with the murder of Mpofu and also public violence. But again, we are talking about men that were under the influence of alcohol, and they were fighting over a game of pool. Mbizo Kwekwe. Now, the next case I want to talk about happened in Epworth. Epworth is just on the outskirts of Harare. So this was in 2012 or 2013? 2013. So in Epworth, there was, or there is, I don't know if it's still there, a club called Shooter Nightclub. So there were some guys that were drinking beer there, and these guys were Duncan. Duncan was only 25. Duncan Madzivanyika, he was 25. Phineas Manyuni, he was 28. And Arnold Mugora, who was 21. So while they were drinking beer, one of the guys alleged, Mugora, said that, Duncan said that Mugora had stolen his $80, of which Mugora actually denied that. Arnold, he was only 21 years old. He denied stealing the money, but these guys insisted that he stole the money. That is Duncan and Phineas. They insisted that Arnold had taken the money, so they started beating him up. They were both drunk, or the 3 of them were drunk. They started beating him up, and he kept saying that he did not take the money. They beat him so bad that if he had taken the money, he probably would have given it back. But he still confessed that he did not. He still maintained, rather, that he did not take the money. So he had nothing to give them back. And they beat him up. And then, unfortunately, yeah, one of them took a bottle, an empty bottle, cracked it open, and cut Arnold on the face and around the chest, and then he started bleeding. He was taken to hospital. He died. And post-mortem results showed that he had died from some internal injuries that had been caused by the beatings that he received, as well as from the bleeding, because it is said that he bled profusely after he had been cut. So this happened in Epworth, and this Arnold boy who was killed was just 21 years old. Again, the 3 people were under the influence of alcohol. So the last case that I want to talk about happened in Chitungwiza, Kumushamkuru. So it happened in Chitungwiza, and this one involved an officer of the law, the Zimbabwe Republic Police, and this man is Clement, Sungano Clement Mukubika, 31 years old. So he was with his friends at the Zengeza shopping center, and then an unidentified deceased person, well, before he was deceased, he came to, the police officer was only 31 years old. He came to the police officer and asked him for a cigarette and also asked for some money. I'm not sure if this person was homeless or if he was just, okay. So he asked the police officer for a cigarette and he also asked for some money. How this deteriorated into an altercation is something that nobody really shed a light on. So anyway, they ended up having an altercation, and then remember he had asked from a police officer. So his friends then stepped in when they realized that the police officer was having a misunderstanding with this stranger. So they stepped in, and his friends are Masango Mashongwa and Godfrey Manenga. Okay, they are both from Zengeza 5. So they actually stepped in and they started fighting this stranger. So the stranger decided that, okay, he wasn't going to be able to win this fight. So he decided to run away. And as he was running away, these 3 were following him behind. And they followed him and they caught up with him and they stabbed him with a knife to death. Now at this point, we're not even sure who stabbed him. But amongst the 3 of them, someone stabbed this man with a knife. Others were beating him up. Someone else was using a knife. So they were all arrested and charged with the murder of this guy. And now I'm not sure if these guys were under the influence of alcohol at all. And I'm not even sure if these guys were just walking when the stranger just came to ask for a cigarette, or if they knew this person before, or if they had like previous issues with this man. I don't know. But bottom line is, yeah, this man was killed by 3 guys. He was stabbed to death, and one of the guys that was actually one of the suspects was actually a police officer of the Zimbabwe Republic Police. How unfortunate. Anyway guys, those are the stories of the day. So like I said, I'm going to pose some questions about these cases before at the end of the video, and now we've reached the end of the video, so I'm going to pose some questions. First and foremost, the first question that I want to ask is, are we saying that as a nation we have a drinking problem? We don't know how to handle alcohol? Is it possible that we have a drinking problem? We don't know how to handle alcohol as a nation. I don't drink, by the way, but I don't have a problem with people that drink. It's their choices, it's their lives. But I'm saying, are we having a problem handling our alcohol at the end of the day? I always like to say we, because I don't like to point at people. I always like to say we. Okay, that's just me. And the second question I want to ask is, do we need anger management classes? Is that what happens in other countries, that when people are drunk, they just lose it and they kill each other? Or do we have anger issues in our country? Do we have anger issues? Do we have anger issues? Does it make sense that you can kill somebody over an empty bottle? Does it make sense to you that you can kill somebody over $2? Does it make sense to you that, okay, under normal circumstances, when you're not drunk, would you kill somebody over $2? Would you kill somebody over an empty bottle if you were not drunk? Are we saying we have alcohol problems, or we also have anger issues in our country? And the other thing that I want to ask really is, do we always have to handle our issues by fighting? Do we really need that in our country? Aren't there other ways of handling misunderstandings? Are we taught how to handle misunderstandings in a civilized way? Do we need to have those classes? At which point do we need to teach people that you can actually solve your problems without necessarily engaging in a fight or even being confrontational? At which point do we teach this to children? Do we teach this to adults? I don't know, guys. What do you think? And do you think also it could be spiritual? Like, why would somebody just walk up to you and ask you for a cigarette and the next thing you're stabbing them to death? Do you think there's a spiritual problem there? Do you think there's, I don't know. And then there was a woman whose boyfriend was killed by her husband. Okay, now I see a lot of, this happened in 2012. But now, the rate at which married women are having extramarital affairs has even doubled or tripled, I don't know, right? What are we saying? Why is this happening? Why are people having extramarital affairs, both men and women? Like, it's almost like it's a normal thing to do. Like, if you're not doing it, then you don't even know what you're doing. You're not existing. You have a problem somewhere. Why has it become so rampant, this thing of extramarital affairs in our country? What is going on? Is it a moral decadence? Is it a cultural shift? Is it emancipation? What is it? Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Do comment down below. Tell me what you think about these cases that I just spoke about. Like I said, they all have something in common, and the thing that is very common in all of them is that the people involved were under the influence of alcohol. The people involved, everything happened in a fit of rage, and it all happened like so fast. And then also, it was over very minor issues. These incidences were like very minor issues, but they went all the way to taking somebody's life. So do comment down below what you think about these cases. Do you know any other cases of people that were killed over these minor things? I actually read another one of a young man who killed his grandma because she was not allowing him to eat the groundnuts that she was shelling. Kumenya nzungu. You know how you always come, your grandma is kumenya nzungu, you grab a handful. And then the grandma said, no, you're not going to do that. I'm doing my thing here. I need these groundnuts probably for peanut butter. Probably therefore, it's a seed meal. I don't know. But the thing is, the grandson ended up killing the grandmother because of those groundnuts. So what are we saying, guys? Do you know any other cases that it happened? If you do know, comment down below. And guys, thank you so much for watching. Do take care of yourselves. Do what you need to do to take care of yourselves. Take care of your families. Take care of your loved ones. Stay away from crime, because if you do crime, you are most likely to do the time. Goodbye.